What's up guys, and welcome back to the Kamui dimension for yet another super juicy video. This is a big one. We're talking about Amato's nasty oversight in Boruto, and why Amato is a goner in the Boruto manga. You're probably wondering, what on earth am I talking about?
I haven't a clue what's going on here, but I'll act like I do.
But I'm talking about how Amato might be accidentally bringing Isshiki Isshiki back. It's not that Isshiki or Amato planned this to happen, it just happened by accident. That might sound like a bit of a wild claim to you, but I'm going to explain why it's not crazy at all, and why it actually makes a lot of sense for Isshiki to come back to the story from both the story writing perspective and from a lore perspective in the Naruto universe. It's all stuff we have seen back in Naruto. This is not something brand new that I'm guessing or making up, it is rooted in Naruto. I know Momoshiki said that Ishiki's soul was extinguished and blah blah blah, but stick with me throughout the video as I will address that. But let's start with the story writing perspective. Why would Kishimoto bring Isshiki back?
You ask, why?
Similar to a point I brought up in my video where I predicted that Amato's cyborg would be Delta, Ishiki's character didn't really feel like it had proper closure. Yes, Kawaki getting the last laugh at Isshiki by fooling him with the shadow clone and stomping on it was cool to see and all, but Ishiki's character still felt incomplete to me, just like Delta's character felt incomplete. It felt like he was meant to be worth more than the Rush character he was. Now this isn't a foolproof rule, but when an important character like Isshiki dies without fully closing out his character, it is a sign that his character isn't done yet and he might return to the story. I mean, if Delta can come back, I don't see why Isshiki isn't good enough to come back, and we'll get to how later. Following up on that point, in the last panel before Kawaki stomps on Isshiki, we get this shot of Ishiki's eye being zoomed in on, and it is hard to say exactly what Ikimoto wanted us to think from this, but I always found it a bit unsettling, and it's at least something to keep in mind. The next reason why Kishimoto might want to bring Isshiki back is because he can be used as a way of channeling more Isshiki lore and backstory into the story. Obviously we still have Momoshiki, but Isshiki can bring another element to this, and if you see my video about the requirements to be compatible with the Karma Seal, then you know that there's actually already quite a bit that we could theorize about Momoshiki and Ishiki's backstory just from answering the question of what makes a vessel compatible with Karma. And there isn't really a better way to have this explored upon than to have Isshiki and Momoshiki show and tell the readers and characters this information. The last reason is because it simply makes Amato a more realistic and human character. Yes, Amato is one hell of a genius, but it would show that even Amato can make mistakes, which is good writing in my opinion. I think it's a bit ridiculous to have Amato never be wrong, or never make an oversight about anything. And it's a good way to bring his plans to an end and lead to his downfall because Isshiki definitely would want to kill Amato for betraying him. Those who backstab others will get backstabbed later on, and so Amato might be a goner at some point. Now I know that some people will say, okay, this is all fine and dandy, but wouldn't this ruin Kurama's death then because the sacrifice would have been for nothing? And I agree with this, but at the same time, Kishimoto did have my guy use the 8 gates, which normally would have killed him, and still made him lose a leg even after Naruto saved him, only to have him still lose to Madara. And also everything I mentioned for how Isshiki can come back could really apply to Kurama too, meaning that Kurama could also come back to the story, but that'll be for another video. But before we talk about how and why Isshiki could come back to the story, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, make sure to subscribe and like the video so you can join the community and share your thoughts on our community posts, like several of you did before this video here. So why would Isshiki actually be able to return in the story?
Seriously? You asked why?
I first want you to think about how people can get stronger in Naruto and Boruto. You can get more skilled, you can acquire a new ability, or you can grow in power output. When we consider what the Karma Seal does for the user, it improves the wielder's strength in all three of these ways. It improves your skill by tapping into the knowledge of the Isshiki who gave you the Karma Seal according to code. It gives you access to Hack's abilities like absorbing chakra-based ninjutsu, or the abilities of the Isshiki who gave you Karma, and it improves your power output as demonstrated very clearly several times, like in a Naruto vs Boruto sparring match. So where does this power come from then? When it comes to increasing power output in Naruto, it has always been done by one of three things: increasing chakra either on your own or from an outside source, adding nature energy, or fusing chakra for the Baryon mode. Those are just the power sources in Naruto. We can safely assume it's not Baryon mode because otherwise Kawaki, Boruto, and Jigen would have been way stronger than they already are, and they'd have been draining life force out of everyone they touch, and nobody knew about this besides Kurama anyway. We can also pretty safely assume it's not nature energy, because we just don't see the Otsutsuki sitting there gathering nature energy like a sage does. They don't do that shit, they just eat chakra foods. The only Otsutsuki to do this is Hagoromo in the anime filler arc. He doesn't even have Toad Sage Mode in the manga. And we sure as hell know that Momoshiki and Isshiki don't have Stage Mode anyway, so let's be real, it's not in the Karma Seal. Which then leaves us with only chakra to be what's causing the power boost in Karma. And logically, it would be a portion of chakra from the Otsutsuki who bestowed the Karma Seal. This power also doesn't just get used up and leave forever, it clearly recharges like a human's chakra does. And this is the problem that Amato might have overlooked. If the Karma Seal contains the Otsutsuki's chakra, that means Kawaki's Karma Seal contains Ishiki's chakra. We know for sure that it gave Kawaki one hell of a boost in power, so it makes a lot of sense if Ishiki's chakra caused this power up. And we also saw Kawaki's personality change a little bit, just something to keep in mind. But let me explain why Kawaki's karma having Ishiki's chakra is a big red flag. Chakra is heavily interconnected with souls in Naruto. In fact, spiritual energy is one of the two components of chakra, and your soul is part of that spiritual energy. We also see Moboshiki's soul inside of Boruto, which is a component of chakra, and would explain why Boruto can access Moboshiki's chakra to make his jutsu way more powerful than Boruto can do himself. We have seen people who are dead have their souls returned to the living because their chakra was unearthed. For example, Minato left behind some of his and Kushina's chakra inside of Naruto so that they could talk to him under certain conditions. The Edo Tensei are other examples, where their DNA is used to summon their souls, chakra, and powers back to the land of the living using a living body as a vessel for their souls, which is actually extremely similar to the Karma Seals with the DNA aspect. And the most important example is how Hagoromo was able to return to the land of the living when Ashura's chakra and the tail beast chakra were inside of Naruto, and Indra's chakra and Ashura's chakra from Hashirama's cells were inside of Sasuke. The components of Hagoromo's powers were inside Naruto and Sasuke via the tailed beasts, and each of them being reincarnates of his sons who had portions of his power, and this allowed him to talk to them and give them powers. His chakra didn't even need to properly be recreated for him to appear, just components of it. The dude wasn't just floating around all the time all over the world before that. He literally says that he is already dead and explains that a lot of conditions have lined up so that he could speak to Naruto and Sasuke and wanted to entrust his power to them. He was also able to pop out of Madara in front of the Edo Hokage, as Madara also had components of Hagoromo's power as well. We can make a similar example with Kaguya too, but you should get the point by now. Yes, Ishiki's soul was extinguished at the time Momoshiki said it, which was when Kawaki didn't have his Karma Seal anymore. However, Amato put it back on him, thinking that Isshiki wouldn't be able to come back since he was dead, but all of his powers are back to Kawaki and even more than before. And this could mean that along with Ishiki's chakra, his soul returned as well, just like it did with Hagoromo and Minato in the other examples I mentioned. Amato is not a ninja. He might not know about souls being connected to chakra like this, and how souls have come back from the land of the dead due to their chakra being in the land of the living on Earth. Even most ninja don't even necessarily know about this. Sure, Amato is very smart with technology and karma seals, but that doesn't mean he knows everything about chakra and souls. He's not a ninja, and it just makes his character more human and realistic if he makes a mistake like this. It could also explain Kawaki's change in personality. Perhaps Ishiki's chakra had an influence on him, just like how Kurama's chakra heavily influenced Naruto's personality when he couldn't control Kurama's power properly, or like how Orochimaru's Senjutsu chakra instead of the curse marks affected the personality of the Sound 5 and Sasuke when they entered the second state. And unlike Momoshiki, maybe Isshiki is playing it smart and doesn't want to take over Kawaki and reveal that he's inside of him, like Momoshiki did, because in Momoshiki's case, he had to give up his chances of resurrecting like normal by saving Boruto to save his own soul. And so, maybe Isshiki doesn't want to do that, and so he just wants to secretly let his DNA extract and wait to take over Kawaki until he's actually at 100%, and then he can revive before anyone tries to kill him first. This also doesn't contradict Momoshiki's statement, because Momoshiki said that Ishiki's soul was extinguished at a time when Kawaki didn't have his Karma Seal anymore. Now, some of you might try to poke a hole in this and say, well, if all this is true, then why isn't Ishiki's soul inside of Code if he can use Ishiki's power? If you're asking that, clearly you're new to the channel, so you might want to subscribe because this can easily be explained by Code's white karma not actually being from Isshiki and instead being a karma seal created by Amato, and guess what, I already have a video about that, which I recommend checking out. So if Isshiki is going to return to the story, this definitely makes sense with the previously established lore in Naruto for how and why he would return, and I honestly think it's probably for the better story-wise because otherwise Ishiki's character just feels really lackluster and wasted. It kind of contradicts the lore in Naruto that I just mentioned, and it feels like Amato is a little too perfect, and I think it would be good for his character if he has a couple of things he didn't think to account for that lead to his downfall, like Kashin Koji surviving, Ada still being alive, and Isshiki returning. Now, keeping it real, Kishimoto has forgotten some of his own lore in Naruto before, so even though it makes sense for Isshiki to come back based on the Naruto lore, I'm not 100% sure that Kishimoto wants to bring Isshiki back, but based on all the evidence I laid out here, I do think it's more likely than not that he at least can return to the story. But I really want to hear what you guys think. After watching this video, do you agree with me that it really does make sense for Isshiki to come back to the story? And regardless of whether he will or won't return, do you personally want to see him return, or would you prefer that he just stays dead forever? Let me know in the comment section below. For those of you who made it this far, thank you so much for the support, but I do have to remind you that
You're already under my genjutsu.
so subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and hit that bell icon for notifications. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!